Are you sure?
We're just waiting one more person for a quorum.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Well, let's rise. We'll have Mayor Caggiano lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Rick?
Okay, checking online. Do we have someone from the city of Ansonia? No. Town of Beacon Falls, First Selectman Smith.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you, sir. We have a little volume problem.
No, I think they just might be him. Let's see.
Think so?
Different line.
And, from the, town of Bethlehem, unfortunately, First Selectman Sorty is not with us today. He's out for the funeral for, the Plymouth MD, Mike Devine. Let's see, from the city of Bristol, Mayor Caggiano.
Here.
From the town of Cheshire, Assistant Town Manager Andrew Martelli.
Here.
Hugh. Mayor DiMartino from Derby, his father-in-law passed away, he's at a funeral today. From the town of Middlebury, First Selectman St. John.
Here.
From the borough of Naugatuck, Mayor Hess.
Here.
First Selectman Temple, we're expecting First Selectman Temple. From the town of Plymouth, Mayor Kilduff.
Here.
Welcome. Mayor Chatfield cannot make it, to let us know. From the town of Seymour, First Selectwoman Dragonis.
Here.
We're waiting, Mayor, you ready? We don't have anyone from the town of Southbury, I don't believe. Mayor, First Selectman Moan from Thomaston could not make it today. From the city of Waterbury, Mayor Pernaruski.
Here.
Yes, sir. Mark Ramo from Watertown was not able to attend today. From the town of Woolpit, Mayor Dunn.
Here.
You, and from the town of Woodbury, First Selectwoman Perkinson is on the line. I see her there. Present. We're also joined today on the line by Jim Nardozzi from the Waterbury Development Corp. And in the room today, we have our two guests from Connecticut Deep, Kim Bradley, and one of our alumnus, Stephen Perry. Welcome back. You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Rick. So, I guess we're gonna start with Kim and our alumnus, Stephen, with a presentation on one of my favorite topics, recreational trails and other great things.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's great to see everyone again. For those that haven't met, my name is Stephen Perry. I'm an analyst in the East Land Acquisition Management Unit, formerly worked on brownfields with Ricardo and Michael and Rick here at NVCOG. I'm joined today by Kim Bradley. She's the Connecticut Trails and Greenways Program Coordinator in the Recreation. We're here today to talk to you about three environmentally open space themed grants that are currently or will be shortly open. So I'm going to start with OSWA Open Space and Watershed Land Acquisition Grant Program. As the name implies, it's meant for the acquisition of ecologically, recreationally, or otherwise naturally valuable open space in the theme of NVCOG's recent open space inventory. A conservation easement is placed on it, so it is permanently encumbered and cannot be developed. It's open to municipalities, nonprofit conservation organizations, or generally land trusts, as well as water companies. And this is a state bond-funded grant program. It's existed for almost 30 years now, so we're fairly confident that after this round, we don't anticipate any ongoing issues with this. The kind of narrative portion and the initial survey are due November 3rd, and the coordinatory appraisals are due December 1st. We'll talk about that on the next slide. It provides 65% of the fair market value. You don't pay or won't grant a premium, which is why we require two surveys. The first is the Yellow Book compliant. I don't really know what that means. It's a fancy appraisal that other people not deep do. For this grant program in particular, this presentation is more from FYI. There's a shortage of appraisers, certified appraisers in Connecticut, and we're seeing a lead time of 90 to 120 days, which extends past the current funding window. So this is kind of an FYI for this grant program for next year. Congratulations to the city of Bristol, who was recently awarded for the
it's the Birch Pond Hoppers,
which is down the street from where I grew up and is a great property. Recent statutory change. If the project will take place in an environmental justice census tract, distressed municipality, or target investment community, it's 75% of the fair market value. Additionally, projects in those areas can request reimbursement for costs associated with the grant application and closing projects. So survey costs, lead costs, appraisal costs, that is only for projects in those areas. And then in this PowerPoint, which I'm happy to circulate after this meeting, is a link to DEEP's most recent map for eligibility for these grant programs. Next slide, please. So there's a interdisciplinary kind of interagency review of this. We will give points based on proximity to transit, to those kind of communities that don't currently have kind of reliable access or walking distance or public transit access to impactful green spaces. The quality of the natural resources, opportunities for public outdoor recreation, and the quality of the application itself. This is a really robust grant program. It is absolutely worth applying to, but it is extremely competitive. But this is kind of DEEP's hallmark open space program. Next slide, please. And this is the number, $186 million over 30 years. I can't do math. It was 30-ish years, protecting more than 49,000 acres of permanently protected open space. That represents about 5% of DEEP's non-park acquired open space. And we're hoping to update our green plan soon. It's like 5 years out of date. But we think we're close to the statutory number of 21% split between DEEP and municipalities, land trusts, etc. My colleague, Allison Clark, manages this grant program. Her email's there. She is definitely the person to first contact. Urban Green Community Garden is kind of my passion project, established under the same legislation that passed OSWA, or that established OSWA. Rather than acquisition, this is intended to create, expand, or improve publicly accessible green spaces intended for, passive recreation themed activities. So it's not going to fund a splash pad or a playground, but we can be quite flexible with the funding because it's quite poorly defined in statute. So, think bioswales, limited infrastructure. We're not going to pay for like a sewer connection or electricity or anything, but pervious pavers, walking paths, trees, flowers, benches, sheds, so on and so forth. This grant program is only open to projects in environmental justice communities, targeted investment communities, or distressed municipalities. I'll just mention a brief statutory change that we're hoping for this cycle. It is to change the phrasing to substantially benefits, at-need communities, which gives us a little bit more flexibility to, if it's not in a census tract, which can be bifurcated by like a river from an adjacent tract that would qualify. We're hoping to kind of resolve that obvious discrepancy. Applications for this are due December 17th. I cannot emphasize enough, this is a 3-page application. Anyone in this room can do it in like an hour. Please apply. If we awarded like 20% of the 2.5 million this last round, and that is the largest round we've had in like 10 years. It's really sad. So please apply. Next slide, please. So this will fund large scale projects. We awarded $500,000 to repair and recapture to connect Windsor and support the connection between Windsor and Riverside Park in Hartford with a multi-use trail similar to portions of the Greenway. But where this grant is really targeted is the community level nonprofits, neighborhood associations that are kind of excluded from traditional complex grant programs because of just their administrative complexity. So, $500,000 to repair and capture, about $10,000 to a nonprofit in the city of New Britain to improve their community garden on like a 4-acre parcel on the corner of the street. Again, what we'll fund is up there. Applications are to municipalities and registered nonprofits. The land bank could be eligible, and I think Jim from WDC is online. Both of the projects that we are in communication with are entirely eligible. Next slide, please. Application requirements, it's your traditional narrative. The one thing we require a copy of the deed. If the application is claiming that the applicant owns the parcel, you need a copy of the deed or something from the land records. If it's a nonprofit conducting work on property they do not own, we need some kind of robust documentation like a lease from the municipality to that nonprofit. They'll usually do that for $1. So, and then there is a 50% match component, but we will literally accept anything for matching funds. We will take other grant funding, federal or state. We will take local municipal investment. We will take, if your public works team spends time on it, we'll take their salary, not fringe, but their base salary. We equate one volunteer hour to like $33 an hour. So again, the purpose of this grant program is to really allow the small nonprofits to apply and access this money. So I'm happy to receive your large scale projects, but above anything, I would ask you all to communicate this grant program to nonprofits you might participate in or are aware of. So that is really what I'm asking. Next slide, please. And $5 million in 20-ish years to enhance public green spaces. We have about $2 to $2.5 million every year. It's dependent on the total amount we award under OSWA. So apply, deadline, we extended from November 3rd to December 17th to give people some more time. And I believe that is it for me. Thank you very much.
All right, everyone. It's so nice to see everyone in person. As Stephen noted, my name is Kimberly Bradley. I'm the Trails and Greenways Coordinator. I sit within the Division of State Parks and Public Outreach in the Bureau of Outdoor Recreation. I oversee and administer the Connecticut Recreational Trail Grant Program. This was established back in 2015. So this is a state bond funded program. It's modeled after the National Recreational Trail Program. However, Connecticut actually opts out and redistributes those funds to the Transportation Alternative Program through DOT. So this is fully bond funded, gives us a lot more capacity to fund a broader range of projects. These include planning, design, construction of new trails. We actually can fund maintenance and restoration of existing trails. We do target these funds to help improve accessibility of trails, as well as it can be used to get equipment to support trail maintenance and trail efforts overall. And it does also support the operation of educational programs and information and publications associated with trails. These grants are open to municipalities, nonprofits, state departments, and tribal governments. There are multiple applications allowed within this grant program. However, we tend to have very competitive grant rounds. So, for example, within the last round, we had $10 million available for allocation, and we had about 29 million in requests. So because of that, we do usually recommend that municipalities really make sure they're working between their divisions, between even their volunteer groups, to prioritize their applications and make sure they're not competing against themselves, essentially. We do also look into whether you have an open contract and whether you've been fulfilling the requirements of that contract by reporting, trying to move that project forward and completing it. So it's something to keep in mind when you're applying to these funds. There is no formal maximum request. However, we do recommend that applications really reach about the $500,000 level. This triggers additional review in the finance level within DEP. And because there's so much demand for these grants, it's usually, in order to spread the opportunity, we usually see maximums around just about $500,000. Project sites must be land owned or having a formal agreement, just like we said with UCGC. What I do want to note is if it's state land, so if it's by DOT, owned by DOT, owned by DEP, you do need to work with the agency to make sure you have formal approval to do that work. Please make sure that that's done before you put your application in to ensure that we're all under the same approach and that is approved. So next slide. Again, just like UCGC, we do have the accessibility and flexibility of these grants to fund a wide range of projects. So we funded projects from just over $7,000 to replace bridges and land trusts, all the way up to our maximum allocation was $685,000 for construction, which was used to balance against federal funding. So because this is state funding, you can match these grants to federal funds. We know the status of federal funds, very happy that these are state funds at this time frame, but it is something to keep in mind. Grant applications are scored based on grant guidelines that are available both on our website, as well as we have a story map within the website that you can use and actually get a lot of the information you need for your applications right within that tool. The Connecticut Greenways Council, which is a legislatively appointed council, does review and puts forward their recommendations for awarding following the review of highly scored applications per our grant guidelines. It is a reimbursement grant, so grantees will be reimbursed for the eligible costs that are outlined in their grant proposal budget and contract. We do have a wide range of what can be reimbursed, but it's something to be aware of that you will have to expend funds and then get reimbursed. We reimburse on a quarterly basis, so you don't have to complete the project fully. We can reimburse every quarter. If there's any concerns, and we've worked with municipalities and other organizations that if there are concerns for large levels of funding going out, we can work out a more frequent reimbursement if required. I did mention that we have this recreational trail story map. It does provide all the different access to the maps and information that you require within your application. We will have a grant overview webinar coming up on October 16th to go over this tool, and we will be providing office hours of direct outreach. I did want to note that we are anticipating the opening of the grant round either this afternoon or Monday. It's happening very soon. It was actually supposed to happen yesterday, but we're working that out. And therefore, the deadline, I think on the next slide, you'll see that the deadline, or I think it was the previous slide, this is one of my first ones, is going to be December 19th. So we are moving forward into this grant round. I did want to note that this is a prospective grant round. It's a little different than what we've done in rec trails in the past. Previously, the bond commission has put forward the funding. We've been fully, allocated and authorized, and then open the grant round. Right now, the bond commission has not authorized these funds at this point, so we're going forward with our RFP to essentially anticipate putting the recommended projects out to the bond commission for release of funds. So we don't have a fully identified amount of funding available, but within the biannual budget, we have 10 million that is in place and remaining from the 2025 budget. And there was additional funding for 2026, 2027 in the value of $10 million per year. So we're looking at the potential of actually doubling the impact of this program. Right now, we've given away about $31 million between 2015 today. So that's $30 million that we're looking at for allocation. Very similar application requirements to UCGC. Talked to Aaron this morning, and he said this is a fairly straightforward application to fill out. So it does require the pieces of information that we all need, but we are very supportive in terms of ensuring that you're able to meet those application requirements and get it in time. Again, it is a 20% match of the full project budget. So we are flexible in matching for this, that volunteer or town related labor can be applied to these grants as well, above and beyond monetary funding. So it's really important to understand we don't want match to be a barrier and inhibitant to apply for these funds. So please let us know if you have any questions on matching requirements. And the last slide. There you go. So yeah, like I said, $31 million has gone out since 2015. We're looking at 30 million allocated right now. So we have the opportunity. This is a growth opportunity with state related funds overall. So please stay tuned. A press release will be coming out any day, and we'll be opening up our next round. So very excited for this line. Great.
And Kim reminded me of two things I wanted to, or forgot to mention about UGCG. Regarding the match, if the match comes from prior funding that is supportive of the project generally, we will consider that. So for example, if there was a property adjacent to a brownfield that is remediated or will be remediated shortly, we will count that brownfield funding. I'm thinking the food hub. Likewise, if there's an area along the greenway that you apply for, we will consider that as matching funds. The other part is UGCG will fund professional services and design work, provided that directly leads to the construction of something within 5 years.
And just for match for rec trails, we actually just adjusted it within the last time frame that it can have an 18-month look back from the point of award letter. So it gives you a lot of breadth to be able to use previous as match for our grants as well.
Okay, questions for Stephen or Kim?
I have two quick ones.
Okay, Rick?
Two really quick ones, Stephen, on UGCG. If the facility is on state land but run by a town or a community group, is it eligible?
Likely, we haven't encountered that situation before, so I'm not gonna say no. But the grant application would need to very closely spell out the relationship, and you would need advanced permission from land acquisition management. So if that's the case, I would get in contact with me about that project, we can talk after.
Okay.
That's a tricky situation, but it would probably be impossible.
And then, quick second question, when you were referring to grants and neighborhood groups, were those were you thinking subrecipients from towns?
So we don't do pass-through grants anymore. So what would happen is we're totally open to the municipality applying, and the nonprofit kind of conducts work on behalf of the municipality. But it's up to the nonprofit and the municipality to kind of work out how it would be reimbursed. So in that case, DEEP reimburses however often you choose to apply for a reimbursement request. DEEP would fund or reimburse the nonprofit. The nonprofit, DEEP would reimburse the municipality. And then the municipality would be responsible for dispersing that money to the nonprofit.
But would you accept applications directly from 501c corps without the city's participation or sign off?
Absolutely, yes.
You would.
Yes, provided if they own the project area,
Mhm.
absolutely. If they don't own the project area, they need a lease or something from the city allowing them to conduct work on that area.
Any? Yes, Andrew.
Is there a thought that the UGCG program would ever be open to non-distressed municipalities?
So, personally, yes. So especially the thing that we're working on for this site is allowing eligibility for tribal governments, tribal nations. That is a more complicated legal change. We're generally supportive of it, but the grant program is in statute specifically written to go towards distressed municipalities, EJ census tracts. The first step is probably getting this grant program more competitive so that we can demonstrate increased need. It's not out of the question, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Thank you.
Yes, Aaron.
Just want to say, we've had experience helping your communities with all of these grant programs. We've applied to the rec trails ourselves several times and been awarded. So we have staff on hand to help you guys, think through budgets or work on applications. So. Oh.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we will proceed to public comment. Is there anyone that would like to address the COG, either in the room or on Zoom? Anyone on Zoom?
We did not receive any online requests, Madam Chairman.
All right, last call for public comment. All right, we will proceed to item 3, CNVMPO meeting, safety performance measure update.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So no action is going to be required on this today. We're hoping to come back in November to formally adopt these targets. But as a reminder, every year, CTDOT is required under the HSIP program federally to adopt safety targets, safety performance targets for the year. And MPOs are required to either accept those targets or set their own within 180 days. So that for us almost always translates to the end of February. In past years, we have talked about adopting our own targets as the CNVMPO instead of simply endorsing the statewide target. Last year, we went as far as to calculate what those targets would be and show them to you, but ask you to endorse the statewide target, which is what we ultimately did. For this year, we are hoping to endorse our own targets. And so at the November meeting, we will do an in-depth dive into the methodology that we used to get there and to set these numbers and what that actually translates to for us. But I wanted to give you the update that several weeks ago now. Our staff sat down with CONDOT and Federal Highway staff to run through our methodology, to talk through the target setting process that we adopted, and to ask some questions about how that impacts us. So you'll see here on the screen, the far right column. These are the targets that we would be setting for our region, that we're hoping to set for our region. We have agreement informally from both CONDOT and the Federal Highway Administration on the methodology and on these numbers. And we're just waiting. We are finalizing a methodology white paper that we're going to ask CONDOT to sign off on to formally recognize that they approved. According to Federal Highway, that is the standard we have to follow. That is the requirement. We technically do not need Federal Highway to approve our numbers, and they actually don't see them unless they specifically request them. But we need that documentation when we go into our certification review as an MPO to demonstrate that we follow the process and work with CONDOT in a collaborative way. Just a quick note about our targets. So every year, ComDOT sets a target and then adjusts it down into a more aggressive target range. We intend to do something similar, but in this year, these are the numbers as fully calculated. So based on the performance of the past 5 years. Once we adopt this and adopt a methodology going forward, we will be starting to adjust these targets down every year towards our zero target in 2060, with significant updates effectively in line with our metropolitan transportation plan, to readjust the timeline and that production rate to reflect the real world conditions. So, like I said, this is just an update for today. We'll come back hopefully in November with agreement from ComDOT on our methodology. We also will be talking quite a bit more about safety in the MPO, or excuse me, in the COG portion of the meeting as we work on our regional Vision Zero action plan.
Okay, any questions for Rich? All right, we will go to item 4, minutes for approval.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That for both of the motions.
You can do it in a single motion, you can do it in two, it's your choice.
Okay, I'm gonna decree that we've approved both at this point and move to item 4, financial report. Michael?
Thank you. So you got 2 attachments in your package last week. One, the fiscal year 2025 year-end report, which is unaudited. Audit will be on site, I believe, in a couple of weeks. And then you also got the July 31st month end. So this one here is the year-end report. We came in at about 92% budget to actual with a net position of just over $8,000. We didn't have any unexpected funding cuts through the year, even though, you know, there was the ups and downs of uncertainty of what federal funding would be released. So all in all, I think we did all right. We did have interest revenue, which was almost 2,000% over target, and we changed banks, higher rate. So where we were getting about 1,000 a year, this year we got about 7,000 interest revenue. And that is actually what can help us tip us over the edge into having a small surplus. Other than that, the only real expenses that were over with professional services and legal, which was originally in the salary line item for the consultant that we hired.
Those were fully reimbursed from grants. We just didn't budget. Or you're talking about our
Consultant.
our own legal services?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't think of the firm name. The new one we have was like 3,000 a month for it.
Yeah, the lobby.
The not. So, I mean, so outside of that, I don't anticipate much change through the audit outside of the normal, year-end financial state adjustments they have to make to convert from accrual basis to modified accrual basis for governance.
Okay, any questions for Michael?
I would just comment on the interest revenue. The move to Ion Bank is really paid off. I mean, you can see it's not a lot of money in raw dollars, but the percentage of increase in interest income that we've earned by those reports has been significant.
Great change.
Yeah, no. Good move.
All right, so this, so there would be the recommended motion to approve the.
Everybody done?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, why would we do that? I was about to say, the motion should be to accept the report, that's all, you're just accepting. Yeah. You're not approving.
Okay,
So I would move that amendment to the motion.
I'll second that.
all right, so let's now vote on the amended motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Director's report.
Oh, I guess I have, so this is the second financial report. Sorry. Okay, so this is the report ending July 31st. So only 1 month of the year, so there's not really a whole lot to report. We are at about 12% budget to actual, which is higher than 8% being the dues are front loaded. So though we haven't had any unexpected funding cuts for this current fiscal year, there are a couple of grant applications that are still pending, that we did anticipate in the budget for, particularly the OPM RPIA grants, which is about $400,000. Can be split for like our community planning and environmental purposes. So those are still pending, those are still up there. And then we have a couple fee for service contracts that we're still in the process of executing. That being said, if depending on what happens with the OPM grants, there may be a mid-year budget revision that I will be putting in front of you in the funds. Other than that, there isn't really anything else in there for me to.
All right, questions? Want a motion on that last one?
Yeah, that's a regular monthly, should accept the report.
Okay, we're done. Motion to accept.
Motion to accept the report as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Director's report, Rick Dunn.
Okay. Welcome everyone back from summer break. It's good to see you all. Good to see so many people in person. I have three things listed on the agenda that I want to cover today. One is the relocation to new space at One Exchange Place. We're on target, we're on schedule, we're working with the city of Waterbury, with their architects. They're about to make a selection, I believe, for their contractor to get the general work done. They've already extended us the courtesy and moved ahead and given us passes to start using the parking garage underneath the space before we move in. Because we don't technically have any right to park in the lot behind us since our lease has expired, and there was a request for a ridiculous amount of money to continue that. But we are continuing to park there, but starting in October, I believe we're going to have some placards and be able to use the spaces in the garage. We don't anticipate the building at One Exchange, the floor will be available to us until March for our fit up. We don't think that our fit up work is going to take 30 days. We just have to do some wiring, some technical stuff. And then we anticipate being in there, absolutely by the end of this fiscal year, but hopefully sometime in the April, May timeframe. So feel good about all of that though, and everything's on schedule. And we're in budget. Moving on to item 2 on my report, the staffing and budget update. So I just wanted to check in with the board on this. So you approved an organizational chart with positions on it and a salary schedule. I just wanted to let you know, we're not filling all of those positions right now. Some of that revenue that was anticipated was tied up in the housing bill that got vetoed. So there are really there are 3 positions we intend on funding with the new money. We're working through this, and we have staff kind of covering all 3 areas right now, but not so the permanent ones are the one of the senior housing planner positions, which we are going ahead and hiring right now because we need to get the work done. It's ongoing. We had already jumped ahead and created the positions before the law had passed, but we're not filling one of the positions in that department. We didn't move forward to fill the waste coordinator position that's anticipated under the governor's proposal. But we do anticipate doing that, covering that with staff hours right now on an ad hoc basis. And then we did an internal transfer for floodplain management position here, which was the governor's priority. He wanted that funded and done. So I anticipate that will get funded when they pass this bill. But we haven't moved forward. We've transferred Molly over from community planning over to environmental planning. She will fill that position, but we haven't filled all of the other positions that are outstanding. So I just want to let you know, we're staying in balance. We're taking it step by step, and we'll do it as the funding materializes. Should they pass the bill, but the funding not be allocated until next year, we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. And between either waiting or just funding it ourselves in advance. Special session, on housing is coming up. I don't have anything for you because A, it hasn't technically been called. We all expect it to be in October, right now. We also don't know what the proposals will look like. So we don't have position papers. Savannah Nicole has been working diligently on trying to keep us prepared and lined up. But generally speaking, we are going to take the approach we've always talked about as a board, and that the board has endorsed generally. We are advocating for a regional, affordable housing plan. We are, trying to negotiate, a different structure than the fair share structure that was included in the last bill. It's worth noting, there's some talk, out there about how to do the fair share stuff. First of all, I don't think it'll be called fair share, and we need to agree on a number statewide that makes sense. What was taken from the study commission previously, the study's author said, don't use these numbers. There are 3 levels of numbers. Shortage of units in total was somewhere in the $40,000 range, 40,000 unit range. The shortage on affordability was more like 150,000 units, and then there was a 240,000 unit that I never understood. So we're hopeful that whatever negotiation takes place will settle on a reasonable number, but there's some talk about not allowing any of the units to be counted or required to be created in some of the larger cities. And we kind of think this is a mistake, so we're gonna keep an eye out for this. Mayor Elicker is on record and has spoken publicly about he wants to build as many units as possible in New Haven, but he wants everyone to participate. So, by that standard, excluding units from larger cities doesn't seem to make much sense. And then we've always taken the position, the infrastructure needs to be there first. We need to build along transit hubs. We need to build in ways that don't create more vehicle miles being traveled. We still have the governor's executive order to reduce DMT, and we intend to do that. So I just wanted to let you know where we were coming from, what we were still thinking as staff. We'll probably schedule an executive board meeting when we know the call of the session and what's going on, so we can talk about developing a position that everyone feels comfortable with.
Well, I would strongly recommend that because, again, at the end of the day, the impact is felt locally. And some of the pie in the sky things that they talk about, they don't take into consider water consumption, sewer usage, and the ability to deal with that. Everybody wants to talk about a housing crisis. I think that's wrong. We have an affordability crisis is what we have. You think you're gonna add 240,000 new units in the state of Connecticut? Okay, what does our infrastructure look like after we do that? So this stuff that goes on in Hartford is bizarre.
Well, I mean, there are different groups with different thoughts. I mean, we're gonna see what's gonna come together in the session. I would agree with you. The only caveat I would add to that is we do have a shortage of units. So we have a housing crisis, but the affordability crisis is a completely different issue in terms of how you solve it. Affordability is only gonna be solved by 2 factors, and that's inventory and the state deciding they want to subsidize people who can't afford to live in certain units in some way.
You're not gonna do it with laws like 830G. Because that doesn't even come close to getting here. Mathematically, it just doesn't work.
Well,
That's a boom for the developer.
I have suggested to anyone who would listen that this bill should suspend enforcement of 830G for a period of 5 years until we give us a chance. Let us try and work with this. But I have no takers on that point. So,
But one thing that was considered before that I'd like you to advocate is the ability to transfer development rights.
Yeah.
So for example, project 830G is proposed in an area you really don't like, but you have an area in town that is acceptable. The ability to work with a developer to transfer the rights can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So Naugatuck is definitely in favor of that.
noted. So I really want to extend my thanks to Savannah Nicole. She's the one who keeps me ahead and on top of this. I could not do this anymore. by myself.
Does that conclude your report?
Yeah, well, so, but like I said, we'll call, executive board meeting before we
Yeah.
formulate any formal positions. Sure, everyone's on board.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Any questions for Rick? All right, Drew, we're gonna proceed to municipal affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As is the case every year, you as municipalities are required to present memorandums of understanding to the region that you're in for emergency management. So I got a message from those from the emergency management coordinator up at Northwest Hills COG that there are many outstanding memorandums of understanding and the associated resolutions for those from 21, 22, and 2023. And now the ones for 2024 are coming due. So I'm going to reach out to those of you that have outstanding memorandums of understanding and resolutions next week individually. I will likely email you as CEOs in addition to your assistants, your emergency management directors, and your town clerk, who will have to stamp and seal the resolutions. What's on the screen here is just a template that when you fill out this template, it automatically populates some of the other documents that are needed. I'll also send you a copy of a resolution that's pretty much ready to go for you. So with elections coming up, and I know some of you either not seeking re-election and with some potential changes coming up, hope to get that done if we can before November, if possible. I know it's going to be a crunch for some of you depending on your meeting schedules. But Northwest Hills COG, who is the fiduciary for that, asked us to assist with that. So I'll reach out to you individually, but there are at least 5 of you, and in some cases 7 of you who owe that information. So next slide, please.
Yeah, Drew, just to stress that, is it the 2021s that are, there's some still outstanding from, what are the oldest ones?
21 is the oldest
And
ones.
so any towns that do have paperwork outstanding from 21, you could be risking funding the reimbursement. So.
Okay, on brighter news, on this upcoming Wednesday, we have our kickoff event for the Naugatuck Valley Corridor Economic Development District, which, as you know by now, we are taking over management of that entity. So you've all been invited as chief elected officials. Really, the critical part is that those folks that you've designated from your respective municipalities to represent you are participate in that. It's going to be very informal, more of a networking event, but the goal is to kind of touch base with the people on the strategic advisory board about what they kind of want to see us provide on a regional basis for economic development. So that is at the station next week. It is invitation only. If you have not RSVP'd to me yet and you would like to come, hopefully you can do that by the end of the day today, because I do have to give a final head count to the station. So I got a cancellation. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Teams, but it is not canceled. So if anybody did get a cancellation, I apologize for that. But I did get a couple bounce backs from people and some other strange goings on. But it is still happening. Confirmed. Got it.
All right, any questions for Drew? All right, let's proceed to item 8, mapping, data and technology. Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I have reformed the GIS department to mapping data and technology department. Mostly so people understand what my department can do for them, because many people know what GIS is. So for the first item on the agenda, which you have no action for, we had an original regional map viewer on our website. Software is retiring, so we've come up with a new platform for you to utilize. It has all the data, census and political boundaries, water and soil data, along with transportation and infrastructure for the entire region. It's now available on our website. Along with it is a public notification tool for so people, the public or staff could get mailing address labels or just mailing address lists. So if you have to hold a public meeting or there's a project, you could get addresses within a certain distance. And that includes addresses in the NVCOG region and all the neighboring municipalities around the region. My second update, also no action, is on the parcel and camera data improvement grant update. As a reminder, this is a great grant from OPM using ARPA funds, and funding went to all 9 COGs. Work has begun on editing the GIS partial databases for municipalities, at least 15 of yours, that were below the 98% match rate threshold set by OPM. So right now they're working on matching the parcel GIS database along with your assessor's CAMA database. Make sure that there's a polygon for each record in the CAMA, and then also making sure that polygon is currently in your layers, also represented in the CAMA layer.
Rich, could you just explain to everyone, when you say it's below 90% and the match rate is off, what causes that match rate from being off primarily?
So primarily it's condos. So in your current parcel layers, not all your towns, but you'll have the main condo parcel, but then having all the camera records for all the units in go into the same polygon, and the databases don't work that way online. So they'll be part of this process is creating condo polygons using building footprints from the latest aerial flights to make sure that all condos are created. In Bristol and Chilton alone, there's about 6,000 condos that need to be created. So we'll be covering the cost for that with this grant. And in contract, NVCOG's in contract with New England Geosystems to complete this work. They already work with many of your towns. And since NVCOG was the first COG in the state to start working with them, they already completed 20% of the work. But now at least 5 other COGs are working with New England Geo as being one of the main contractors in the state for services. So now work will go take a lot longer, but the grant is due to wrap up by December 26th. And that is all I have.
Do the aerial flyovers generate any rough topo lines that you share?
Yes, so the latest contour lines, Hill Shade and I think Shaded Relief are available in the regional viewer. I could also get you send links to Fred to send, so you also have it. Sure.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know, those lines are very helpful when someone walks into your office and wants to develop a piece of land. It's a great starting point.
And then we'll also be getting the flight for 26 will be in March, so we'll be getting the updated LiDAR to create that information probably a year from now.
Okay, questions? All right, thank you, Richard. Okay, Savannah, your big moment, community plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and board members. It's wonderful to see you today. I have an update for you regarding the regional plan of conservation and development. No action is needed from you on this agenda item. Thank you to everyone who has appointed a representative to serve on our steering committee for your community. Your involvement is really critical in this process, as this plan is intended to guide our organization's regional planning efforts for the next 10 years. Since the last board meeting, NVCOG held a community check-in to inform interested parties about phase 1 of our planning process. And it was nice to see some of you in attendance at the check-in. If you were unable to attend the check-in, you can review the recording by going to our YouTube channel or by putting your phone up to the QR code on the screen. And so one thing that community planning is doing is we're working on creating a feedback system for our programming, which we were able to test out in this webinar. We had 43 people attend the live event, and they told us that over 90% of attendees were able to understand the content of the webinar, speaking to our ability to communicate about our work in an accessible manner. Over 70% of attendees felt the program increased their knowledge about the regional plan, and 89% of attendees agreed that the community planning check-in was a high-quality webinar. we will host these check-ins throughout the process for the broader community. And so just keep an eye out. We'll let you know when the next one of those will be. Next slide, please. Awesome. So our next update is that we're preparing to enter phase 2 of the regional plan process. Rick has seen this, our chairman, Andrew Martelli, has seen this, but we kind of are working through internally with the directors and the executive staff, how we get the meat and potatoes of the plan. And so we just wanted to let you know that this is where we're going to create the main sections, the planning themes, and the regional and local recommendations for policies, plans, and programs. So if your staff aren't participating, this is a really important time to re-get people back to the table. I don't want you to get to the end of this process and say, where are my municipal priorities? Because no one's at the table activating your community in that way. So we'll be sending emails to some of our municipalities who have had less involvement, but thanks again to everyone who has been involved. And we will ask your staff and you to attend at different points throughout this process. So stay tuned for additional invites to future opportunities around the regional plan. Next slide, please. All right, so the second piece I have for you is our summer community planning newsletter update. In late August, NVCOG published the community planning newsletter. And in this edition, there's a ton of wonderful things such as an interview with our Regional Plan of Conservation and Development Steering Committee Chair, your very own Andrew Martelli, which you can ask.
Smile photo.
We won't get cheesy, but I think it's an excellent article showing that we have the right chairman leading this effort. His passion for our region and the work that he does and has done in municipalities in our region is evident. So I really do recommend you check it out. It was really nice. Yeah. The second thing I just want to highlight is that we brought out the Watertown's community-wide art experience. There are 6 lifelike bronze structures throughout the city or the town. If you haven't seen them, I recommend you check them out. They're very interesting. And then our latest sustainability spotlight, which we create in collaboration with the Environmental Planning Division. And this one's on how to plan for heat resilience. So you should all be subscribed to the newsletter. If you're not and would like to be, please let me know, and I can be sure that the next edition gets into your inbox. And that is all.
All right, any questions for Savannah? Okay, we will proceed to transportation planning. Rich,
I think not just yet.
not just yet?
There's a couple other community planning.
All right, I lost my way here. Emily, bi-monthly referrals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. So no actions are being requested of you of today, as this is just an update. So municipalities in Connecticut are required to refer land use actions to their council of governance for advisory review. Community planning staff have created a bi-monthly referral report that summarizes referrals received and reviewed by NVCOG. This period's report from June 1st through July 31st is included in your packet and sent to you and your land use staff via email. Previously, these reports were sent out to you on a quarterly basis, but changed to every other month per request from our CEOs via survey sent out on June 2024. Since then, these referral reports have been sent out on a bi-monthly basis to you and your land use boards and commissions. We ask your staff to share the report with your land use commissions and boards for their reference. Please look forward for the August and September referral report at the beginning of October. I'd be happy to take any questions on this period of follow.
Questions? Okay, thank you, Emily. And we'll go to the COG housing coffee hour update. Dimitri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. My name is Dimitri Coles, Housing and Community Planner for NVCOG. No action is required for you on this matter. It is an update about an educational opportunity for municipal staff. The Community Planning Division continues to serve our municipalities through direct community support by providing educational resources on topics of interest across the region. We will be hosting a virtual coffee hour in collaboration with the Department of Housing on September 23rd, 2025 at 11:30 a.m. via Zoom. The webinar will feature best practices for updating your CGS Section 830G Affordable Housing Appeals List. You should have all received the email with information on how to update your 2025 appeals list from the Department of Housing earlier this summer from Laura Watson. The information is usually due back to the Department of Housing in October. This webinar will focus on what your staff need to do to ensure that your municipality has given the state the most up-to-date information. Chief elected officials, land use staff, building officials, town clerks, and assessors are all encouraged to attend. We sent an email invitation last week and have included copies of the flyer in your meeting packet. You can also register by using the QR code on the slide. Additionally, the event has been registered with the American Planning Association to provide certification maintenance credits to AICP planners. If you have not received an email with the registration link, please connect with me after this meeting and hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rich, well, I'll go to you.
Now it's me, yes, you're gonna have to hear me talk about safety again. You're gonna hear me talk about safety a lot for the next several months, so. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I do want to start out though, we will be talking about safety a lot, we will be sharing a lot of data and a lot of information. And I do want to share just as a reminder that anything we put together or share in the process of planning for improvement is protected. It does not increase the liability to you or your towns. It is under Title 23, it is allowable for us to deny that information from admission into court proceedings. So I know that's something that we always hear concerns about, or we've heard concerns about in the past. That is all protected under federal law. And so we are not doing anything to increase your risk there. What we are trying to do though is identify those places where the risk is highest for travelers and work towards improving those spots. So back in the 2023 funding cycle, NVCOG was awarded funding under the Safe Streets and Roads for All program to develop a regional action plan, or in our case, actually to update our original 2020 regional transportation safety plan that we then did an addendum to at the start of the Safe Streets program in 2022. So this will be a full rewrite of that plan. It will include many of the same or much of the same information and many of the same projects that have not moved forward yet. But will be designed to comply with the latest US DOT guidance on what a safety action plan should look like. And so we have to have a draft of that plan available in December. We will then get into a very aggressive public engagement period around making that plan available to people, having public meetings to talk about what is included and why, and what we plan to do about it. Once this plan is done, any projects that are identified without a funding source will be available for future Safe Streets funding rounds. Of course, we don't know about the future of this program into the next transportation authorization, but it has been widely popular in states all across the country. We think there's a chance that it continues into the future. It is also a bit unique in that it is one of the only funding sources that's out there that is not available to state DOTs. And so all of the funding in the program goes to regional entities like the COG or to towns and cities. So a bit of an update on our current progress. We are underway right now on the roadway safety analysis, and we're just about done with that. And so we have taken a deep dive into the crash data from UConn's crash data repository. It's very helpful to have such a detailed crash reporting system. And so we're incredibly thankful for UConn for maintaining this. It is as good or better than any other in the country. And it makes this a lot easier for us. In doing this work, what we're looking for particularly is not just where these crashes are happening. We know, we have a pretty general sense of where the serious injury and fatal crashes are happening, but we're getting a lot of information around what is causing these, what type of actions the drivers are taking or other involved people are taking. Ultimately, what was the first event that caused the crash? And we get a lot more information about the people that are involved, although not individual names, but some of the factors in that sense. It's been helpful for us as we look then to program projects to address these problems. So once the roadway safety analysis is complete, we'll have our high crash network, our high risk network in line with federal standards. We'll be able to use our engineering staff and some of our planning staff to identify countermeasures specifically for the crash types that are occurring. And we'll be putting a list together based on our highest crash risk locations. The other thing we've been working on is project solicitation. And so while we will take a really data-driven approach to this, we also want to hear from from your towns and from the people who deal with this every day. Nicole and our team and other members of our staff have been meeting with your police departments and public works and engineering departments. I believe we've been to most towns already, but not all. And so any that we haven't been to yet, Nicole will send a follow-up email today to all of you. You are not committed to that?
Yes.
To make sure we can get something scheduled and have a conversation. These have been really helpful. You know, the crash data information is great at where crashes are happening. What it does not tell us is where crashes are almost happening. And there's some tools out there that are starting to take a better look at that, but it doesn't really exist on a meaningful way. There's no single reporting or repository of near misses or locations that we know are dangerous that people avoid because they're dangerous. I think we have a fantastic example on, I don't know, it used to be exit 17 or the interchange 17 on Route 8, the on-ramp onto 8 South. There's no merge, there's no visibility. It is a dangerous location that locals know to avoid. And so we can't say that it is included in our high injury network or our high crash risk network because it is not. But we know it's a high risk location. And so that kind of local knowledge from your police departments and public works and engineering departments has been really critical for us making this a plan that works not just for the data that's out there already, but actually can help us advance some of these really important projects across the region. And so if you can go to the next slide. We talked about this a little bit in the MPO meeting. As a reminder, the CNVMPO is the 15 northern towns. The 4 lower Naugatuck Valley towns are part of the greater Bridgeport and Valley MPO that we share with MetroCog. And so when we set those targets, we are setting those targets for the CNVMPO towns only. We've been talking with MetroCog about it, but it looks like we will be adopting statewide targets for GBVMPO towns this year. But we want to make sure that this work is happening for all 19 towns, everything else we're working on. And so we are going to be using the same methodology once we have sign off from PANDA on doing so to set a region-wide or to show numbers for region-wide if we were to do a 19 town target, as well as report on the same performance statistics every year for the 19 town region. We, way back when we adopted our Vision Zero goal originally in September of 2022, committed to a biannual safety progress report. As part of setting our own safety targets, we are going to be updating that to an annual safety progress report in which we will take a deep dive into the information from the past year, as well as cover our progress towards those safety stats across the entire region and for the MPO so that we comply with the federal reporting requirement on the MPO side. And if you'll go one more. So that gets us then to, we'll be in a spot where we know the problem really well. I think many of us have a good sense of the problem. This will document exactly what the problem is. And so then we need to talk about what are we going to do about it. In addition to the accommodation of fiscally constrained and non-fiscally constrained project lists in our Safe Streets action plan, we are taking on a number of other elements as part of the broader Envision Zero campaign, which is what we have branded it because it aligns with all of our other Envision branding. It just happens to fit really well here. And so these are some of the things that our staff are working on or will be working on and making available to all of you to help advance our progress towards these targets. And so the first is an expanded road safety study program. Many of you have dealt with the state's corridor study process. There are some limitations in that process. You know, the first is that generally solicitations are far apart and not always predictable. And the second is that those studies are almost always conducted by consultants, and we know we can deliver work of the same quality for a lower price and in a faster timeline. And so we're going to offer a series of options on a road safety study program. Effectively, we'll have 3 tiers of level of engagement that we hope to open to all of you relatively soon. We are also going to be working on increased data availability. And so in addition to an annual safety progress report, we're in the process of developing a Vision Zero hub site for the region. Esri, who is the vendor for all our GIS tools, has a really great online feature. And I highly recommend if any of you are interested in what this might look like, we're hoping to have ours done in December. But in the meantime, Prince George's County in Maryland has a fantastic example, and we are using a lot of inspiration from the work that they have done in this same tool. The other piece is we've run a data collection program for a long time for all of you, but we hope to be able to expand that into what we're able to offer when you have data needs related to roadway operations or safety. The next item is Vision Zero educational programming. You know, we've taken a big step forward, especially the community planning side with lunch and learns and programming for your town staff. And we're hoping to replicate a lot of that on the transportation side. We'll be talking about project selection, roadway safety analysis. We will be doing a lot more of this, both for the general public and for your municipal staff to help them understand the work that we're doing and be able to meaningfully contribute, within town. And then the last one is, we are looking at bringing in another engineer to help with a post-crash infrastructure response. Or this is sometimes referred to as a crash analysis studio. And so what this comes down to is anytime there's a serious injury or fatal crash in your community, we want to be available to go out and do an analysis of the factors that led to that crash and make recommendations both short-term and long-term for how to address any infrastructure problems that contributed. As part of the state's quick build program, we're getting a lot more guidance on quick build projects. So things that are sometimes temporary or sometimes semi-permanent. And we're hoping that there will eventually be some state dollars to follow to help support that implementation. But we want to be able to get in front of these problems a lot more quickly and be able to put some temporary improvements out until we can come up with a design and funding for a permanent infrastructure improvement in those locations. So this is just the starting point for us. We're really committed to this. Roadway safety really is our top priority in the transportation planning department here. And so we're going to be doing a lot of work around this over the next few years. And we just want to make sure that we're offering as much as we can to all of you as you encounter these problems in your communities so that we can help address that in a whole variety of ways.
So Rich, do you have any data on the success of modern roundabouts that replace traffic signals?
We do, yeah.
So what does it look like?
Depends on location, but nationally, the average is about an 89% reduction in serious injury and fatal crashes. Really importantly, roundabouts are a topic we're going to talk a lot more about. Not only do they handle at least the same, if not more volume than a traditional four-leg intersection, but they reduce the number of total conflict points from 28 to 14. And they reduce, from 28 to 12, and they reduce all of the serious, the serious kinetic energy transfer points. And that's ultimately what this all comes down to is the management of kinetic energy. And so we want to, as much as possible, address the amount of kinetic energy that goes into a crash before the crash happens. We know we're never going to totally eliminate crashes. That's just not possible with humans as drivers. And so if we can reduce the risk of a head-on or a true side crash, which is exactly what a roundabout is best designed to do, we really reduce the amount of total kinetic energy transferred in that crash. And that is what ultimately leads to the bodily harm and injury.
So Rich, I'll give you an exciting example. In Naugatuck, there was a lot of opposition to our roundabout, especially on social media, I've been told. We're building it right now. A couple days ago, we put up 16 barrels while we're building it, and traffic is flowing better than ever. And all the people, you just go right through it. I'm gonna put barrels everywhere.
We're all for that. We love the idea.
And that was our most dangerous intersection. And I knew about this gas, but people don't believe it. They just don't believe it's gonna be safer. It's hard to spread the message.
And it's far less expensive for the towns when it comes to signals and maintenance, especially if the state doesn't maintain that particular signal. Signals are what now? 400?
Yeah.
We're talking close to $1 million now.
No, per 400 per side, right?
Depends on the location.
Yeah.
We can't do an intersection for less than about $1 million at this point.
Right.
And so signals have only gotten more expensive. I don't think they're going to come down. And so to that point, though, we are in the process. We're working with DOT on a lot of new programming around roundabouts. They've seen a lot of success on their roads. We're seeing a lot of success on our roads. And we know that one of the concerns is opposition from the public. We just don't necessarily understand them all the time, especially in communities that don't have them in place now. And so we'll be doing a whole series on roundabout implementation and benefits over the next year or two.
would you please send me some of that data?
Absolutely,
Thank
very
you.
happy to.
All right, any other questions for Rich? Okay, we'll go to environmental planning and it will start with Christine, Regional Waste Authority Study.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Today, we request that the board consider resolution 2601 to plan for the establishment of a regional waste authority, which reflects the recommendation of the Waste Committee. So on September 2nd, CEOs received the Naugatuck Valley Regional Waste Authority study authored by consultant firm Tetra Tech and funded through a Connecticut DEEP grant. The study was compiled over the course of 8 months with significant input from municipal officials and staff. And in today's packet, you'll see a memo that reflects these recommendations. Next slide, please. Unsurprisingly, the top recommendation of the study, the Waste Committee and NVCOG staff are all the same to plan for establishing a regional waste authority. The study states several compelling reasons in favor of this alternative. First, forming your own RWA allows maximum flexibility for you to decide mission, structure, programming, etc. The study also found that Connecticut municipalities that are part of a regional group on average will pay a lower tipping fee than those that are not. And of course, an RWA would be very well equipped to accomplish some of the board's stated goals. I know infrastructure siting has been an important imperative here, and you could achieve an economy of scale and cost savings through this RWA. So for these reasons and many others detailed in the study, NVCOG encourages the board to move to phase 2 of the DEEP grant by adopting this resolution. Next slide, please. I just want to clarify a few things because it can sound scary to form a regional waste authority. What does that actually mean? So forming a regional waste authority will not automatically commit any municipality to joining. It also won't conflict with membership in existing groups like the Bristol Resource Recovery Facility Operating Committee, and it will not automatically obligate members to participate in all programs or projects that are being offered. Rather, there'll be this menu of options that we've discussed where you can pick and choose and opt in. On the other hand, forming a regional waste authority will unlock funding from DEEP to plan for startup. It will require a lot more conversations and planning with the CEOs to develop structure, fees, and next steps. And it will call for a few municipalities to join the new RWA as early adopters. Next slide, please. So at this time, Mr. Chair, I would respectfully recommend that the board adopt resolution 2601, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mayor Caggiano.
I will move to adopt resolution 2601 to plan for the establishment of a regional waste authority.
Second from Middlebury. Any discussion? I'll just say that this is the first step in a much longer process. And that our ultimate objective is to generate more savings as well as all the other factors Christine mentioned. But your job is just starting, Christine.
Keep me nice and busy. I love it.
Mr. Chair, just if I could, for the next step, so what we'll do with the next chunk of money is begin to put together the municipal ordinance models that you all would have to adopt in order to join, in order to enable you to take advantage of whatever the regional waste authority then decides to do. But the intention is for us to form an organization that will go out and bid private contractors, private facilities to provide services to each of you. So.
How many early adopters do you need?
So it's interesting. I think that legally to form an RWA, we really only need 2 municipalities. However, the study recommended, not as early adopters, but total, the study recommends about 11 municipalities to join. We also know that for some municipalities, it may be a better move on a case-by-case basis to look into joining HRRA or CSWA, the other 2 regional waste authorities, but generally we're looking to go as a regional group. And in terms of what this, as opposed to the study, what DEEP recommends is DEEP says we can unlock even more funding if we get 6 to join on before the summer of next year. So sort of up to you guys how you want to structure it.
Answer. Any further discussion?
I'll just maybe make one other plug too, because I think there's 4 of us that are part of BRFOC, and I think that was a key point to point out is we're not gonna be looking for, a waste to energy plant, and so that part of it could be a big part of what you look for. But clearly the food waste management, the other recycling opportunities as a group, in my opinion anyway, should be that I don't know why any municipality wouldn't want to be part of this long term.
And I would.
Because there's a Chinese menu, I'll call it, where you can choose, what you need on there and not have to get fully involved. And I just wanted to highlight that.
And I completely agree, and I would just say that your situation could change in 7 or 8 years.
Exactly. So a long-term process.
So our intention in forming this, next steps, go through the money, to set that up, the staff, here will do that. If the funding passes in the legislative session, either in this session or a special session or the next session, our intention is to hire a person to run the RWA, whether that's full-time or part-time initially, we'll see when we get there, but
And that's off in the future.
whenever it's formed.
When we get there.
Right. But the funding may be available sooner than form it, so we may engage that person.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Open space inventory webinar, Christine.
Yes, thank you. This one will be nice and brief. We just want to let you know that NVCOG will hold a webinar on September 24th at 10 a.m. on our updated regional open space inventory. So this event is designed to orient users of the interactive map and report and give them tools that they can use for municipal planning and grant writing. Just like the housing coffee hour that you heard about before, this is also registered with the American Planning Association to provide certification maintenance credits for any of your AICP planners. Participants can register for the webinar by using the link that was circulated via email and which is written on the flyer in your packet. We hope to see everyone there.
Thank you. Stormwater and MS4 permit update, Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an update regarding the CTD MS4 general permit. There is no action required for this item. In March of this year, CTD released a draft of a revised MS4 permit for public comment. At the time, the expectation was that DEEP would revise the draft permit and put it into effect in fall of 2025. The agency has decided, however, to extend the current permit for another year to allow for public comments. Throughout the update process, DEEP has indicated that they will be increasing MS4 compliance enforcement in the future. To prepare for both a new permit and increased enforcement, NVCOG is working to increase capacity to better assist our members with MS4 compliance. The Environmental Planning Division has recently welcomed Molly Johnson, who previously worked in the Community Planning Division to assist on stormwater issues. We have also convened a working group of COG staff statewide to discuss regional MS4 assistance and inter-COG coordination around stormwater. The working group's first task was developing and distributing a survey that gave us a better understanding of the types of assistance our members are in most need of. The survey was sent out August 15th to all our municipal MS4 contacts in our region. As you can see in the bar graph on the slide here, there was interest in various types of assistance. The top services suggest that public education and outreach resources, municipal staff training, a central website for MS4 resources, outfall and water quality monitoring, mapping services, and MS4 annual report services are your top priorities as municipalities. Over the past several months, we have updated our stormwater web pages with helpful resources, piloted a sewer system mapping program in Beacon Falls with a summer intern, hosted municipal staff training, and provided annual report assistance. We will continue to keep our towns up to date on any MS4 permit updates and the services that we can provide. The QR code on the bottom of the slide will take you to our current stormwater webpage, which will be continually improving and expanding. As we explore the costs and benefits of these services, we encourage our municipalities to contact us at any time if you're interested in receiving direct support for MS4 compliance or stormwater management. Our efforts will not only help municipalities comply with this state mandate, but will also improve water quality in our region, which will lead to social, environmental, and economic benefits for our communities. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions for Thomas? All right. Moment we've all been waiting for, Aaron, Pennytown Dam.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just a quick update, there's no action today. We are still working toward acquisition. I know we've said we're very close several times now, but now it seems like it's imminent. Likely next week we'll be closing on the Connecticut Brownfield Land Bank will be closing on the property. Once that happens, we sort of shift modes into a management mode. So we're gonna need to manage the facility over the next several years while the design of the dam removal is undertaken and the dam is actually removed. So that means that we'll be responsible for a lot of the safety responsibilities that the current owner has sort of neglected over this past several years. So we'll have to develop an emergency action plan. On the slide there, we sort of got a head start a couple weeks ago. We installed the safety boom that hasn't been up for several years to prevent boats from getting near the dam. And so things like that, we're hoping to clean up the property, it's really become blighted, especially in the North Fork area in Ansonia. So we're intending to really, sort of change that, and go out there and do the things that the owner has neglected to do for the past decade or so. So we'll be sort of taking on that new role over the next few years, and we're working toward that right now. We are working through the engineering design. GEI is in full swing right now. They're sort of approaching the end of the data collection. They've received draft survey on everything. We had a meeting on Wednesday where their engineers and their sub-consultants and a lot of staff from NVCOG got out in the fields with everybody. And then came back here to the office and did a 4-hour workshop sort of looking at all the data was collected so far, what it means, and try to start developing alternatives and eliminating a lot of the alternatives that are not feasible based on the data that's been collected. So that's going to continue, and we're hoping to have a preferred alternative in the next month or so that we're going to start working on design for. EPA is planning to get back out in the field to do additional data collection on the sediment behind Kittytown Dam in mid-October. And that's gonna, affect basically, what the regulators are gonna allow us to do with that sediment. The sediment is gonna be the largest cost driver in this project. So, we're really hoping to nail down all the details and be able to plan for what we're ultimately gonna be able to do.
Aaron, while we're on sediment, if I could just ask you, so I want everyone to just see the picture. And Aaron, just describe where that is, because I think this is really shocking to some people who haven't been there.
Yeah, so that's probably about 100 feet upstream of the dam.
Which is, and the dam is how tall?
The dam's 25 feet tall.
Right, that's how much sediment is sitting in that impoundment, because
It's wadeable.
Deep water and there's nothing flowing.
it looks like a huge deep lake behind a 30-foot dam, and it's all filled with sediment. That should, and all that sediment should be naturally down the lower reaches of the Housatonic into Stratford into the wetland areas.
So that's our partners that Save the Sound there in the canoe. They're probably standing on 18 feet of sediment there. And the estimates that we've seen are between 750,000 cubic yards and 1.4 million cubic yards of sediment that, a portion of which, probably a large portion of which we're gonna have to, deal with and manage.
Resurrect their beards, they'll figure it out what to do.
Big greenstone.
Makes
So I just wanted to point that out because
gravel out of it.
even seeing it up close, you don't understand, what this project really is. It's really a sediment management project in large part.
Yeah. Great. And then on the funding front, we did finalize our contract and endorse a contract with DEP for the $1.6 million in in funding that they initially, committed to the project. And that's the vehicle that we're gonna use to also receive the $25 million, bond funds that were approved during the last legislative session. And one more, next slide. We're having our seventh, hard to believe, our seventh community meeting in Seymour on next Wednesday. During the last public meeting, we had a lot of questions about the incorporation of the Naugatuck River Greenway in the project and really about the Greenway overall. So this meeting is really going to focus on the Naugatuck River Greenway. NVCOG received a deep red trails grant, thank you, to design the trail through the property as part of the design that's going on for the dam removal. And the landscape architect that design funds are paying for, we're at that meeting on Wednesday. They've been working really hard on sort of conceptualizing how and where we can put a trail as part of the dam removal project. So we'll present some of that, mostly background information about the Greenway, though, to sort of explain to the community, why we want to build this trail through their community and the benefits that they'll see from it. Happy to answer any questions about any of that.
Okay, any questions? Just keep going there.
Yeah. Will do.
Okay, Brownsfield, Ricardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. So since our last Brownfields update, Brownfields team has achieved several milestones. At 143 Woolpit Road, Woolpit, underground storage tanks were pulled, cleaned out, and transported off-site. Soil underneath the tanks were sampled as well as all throughout the property. We expect the data within the next 2.5 weeks, so we'll share that once we have that. Similar case without the UST tanks. Soil borings and groundwater samples were taken at 43 East Main Street, Bristol. So we anticipate the reports within 2.5 weeks for that. Quality assurance project plans are pending. EPA review at 835 South Main Street, Waterbury. And a public engagement session is scheduled at 226 Rubber Ave, Naugatuck. We're going to have that meeting prior to the remedial activities commencing on site. So as soon as the public meeting and public engagement session is over, we'll be able to start that portion of the project. In regards to the DCD's recent project solicitation, NVCOG staff has submitted 3 applications. 2 of them were from NVCOG for 135 South Main Street, Thomaston, the former Seth Thomas Clock manufacturing site, as well as 20 Main Street, Oakville, known as the Pin Shop. The last application was submitted on behalf of the Connecticut Brownfields Land Bank for 44-46 A Swamp Road, Newtown, and that's the former Batch Lenders site. So right now we're currently at 10 for 10 on project being awarded for DVCD. So fingers crossed that we keep it up and we get those 3 funded as well. So if you're looking for NVCOG's assistance in submitting an application to funding round, or just like talking to us about dirty soils and whatnot, don't hesitate to reach out to us. DCD's next funding opportunity is anticipated to open between January and February, so there's plenty of time to start the process and start seeking of alternatives and game plan for those sites. Just a friendly reminder, and I will be sharing this as we get closer to the anticipated funding rounds for DCD. Assessment grants are a minimum of 100,000 with a max of 200,000, and then clean up 200,000 all the way up to 6 million. They bumped it up from 4 million recently, so that should take care of a large portion of remediation on sites. Similar to DCD, NVCOG currently has a open solicitation for projects, so we really don't have a minimum for assessment. We do have a max of $100,000. So if you need some stuff, you have some sites that need some assessment work done, don't hesitate to reach out. The municipality doesn't need to own the property, but we do need an access agreement with the current owner to do the testing. For cleanup grants, there's no minimum, but there's a max of $350,000. It's a similar situation. However, this one is for municipalities, non-bonders, so they're eligible for grants.
cleanup loans, no minimum, but there is a max of $1 million. If you guys have to go higher than that, we get asked, we get for special consideration. And those loans are for municipalities, nonprofits, as well as developers, 0% for 24 to 36 months. So if you guys have any projects, feel free to reach out. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, questions? Thank you, Ricardo. Any towns want to bring up anything at roundtable?
You just give me another second, Mr. Chair. I know it's a long meeting. I appreciate everyone's patience in being here. I didn't.
Said CEO.
I know you did. I don't want to answer quickly. But I just wanted to offer the opportunity, if anyone had any questions about the raise grant. I didn't get into it during my report today. The raise grant that's been withdrawn by USDOT for the Naugatuck River Greenway. We've been in touch, obviously, with the delegation, the towns that are impacted, which are potentially Naugatuck, Waterbury, Watertown, and Thomaston. Talked with First Select Ramon, talked with Mayor Hess about it. We don't anticipate that it's going to go further, but there are more letters, and there are actually letters that we're now hearing about coming out of DC for existing raise grants that are under contract. It could impact others. I hope not. So we're working with the delegation on it. They are hopeful that it might not be the end of the road for that grant, because we were supposed to have been given an opportunity by the administration to amend our scope to fit their template better. We were never given that opportunity. We had a contract we had negotiated with the administration when it went to pay fee, it got spiked at that point. So without any heads up. But the other thing I wanted to let you all know about that, or any other grants, if we haven't gotten a release of funds on our second year of Kinneytown from NOAA yet either. So it's concerning, but not at the end of the road. But for the agency, we don't count on any of those programs to fund our operations here. We're not paying staff. We don't take money from those grants, so it's no impact to our operations. And I want to make sure everyone understood that it was clear. It won't affect our staffing or our ability to pay bills here.
Okay, thank you, Rick. So I guess we'll go to item 14, Mayor Dunn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
You're not.